All right, guys, welcome to the Commercial Cash Flow Show. I'm Kenny Wolfe, one of your hosts today. We've got Ronny Phillip over there as the other host. And today in the hot seat, we've got David Toupin with Obsidian Capital. He's 23 years old and has already built up a $40 million multifamily portfolio. Excited to jump in to see how he got started so young. And I'm the old guy on the show today. So, but we'll be right back. Stay tuned and get those questions ready for us at the end.
Propelio TV is sponsored by Batch Skip Tracing, CreativeCashflow.com, Think Multifamily, Life and Air, and Noble Mortgage and Investments.
All right.
Welcome back to the Commercial Cash Flow Show.
So today we have David Toupin with Obsidian Capital Company. Probably one of the most inspiring people I've ever seen in multifamily. 23 years old and built a $40 million multifamily portfolio. So I'm excited to have you on, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, good to be.
Yeah,
good to see you.
This is awesome. So I know Kenny because I'm in a mastermind with Kenny. So I've known you for probably a little over a year now.
Right.
And I met you through social media, and then we've gone to some events together now. We were just at a golf tournament last weekend. So yeah, good to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, so I guess where we all start on the show is, how'd you get started in multifamily?
Sure. Good question. I mean, it seems like forever ago, but I know it's probably only about two and a half years ago. I was in college, and I wanted to get into real estate. I knew I had big goals. I knew I wanted to accomplish something big, start my own business. Kind of stemming from when I started my first business. I was 13. It was a landscaping company, and I built that up through high school, sold it. So I kind of got the bug, that entrepreneurial spirit. And my junior year of college, I did some internships in investment banking and auditing and consulting, and just realized that wasn't for me. Got out. I had a couple six-figure job offers. I turned them all down like the day I got out of my last internship, and I knew real estate was what I was going to do. I proceeded to start wholesaling and flipping houses for about 6 months, I think, and it just wasn't doing it for me. I knew that wasn't a way to create wealth. It's essentially another day job.
It is.
You were doing it for a while, right?
Yeah, I did fix and flips with my dad, and I did the residential real estate business where I help people buy and sell homes, and I realized it's a very transactional business, right?
Yep. So
it's not something you can truly build wealth off of. So
exactly.
When did you realize that? Because I think especially coming from how young we are, not many people can figure it out. So when did you realize, okay, this residential thing is not for me, I want to go into multifamily? Why did you pick this asset class out of all the other ones?
Sure. So before I really jumped in full-time to residential, I knew I wanted to do apartments because I'd read a lot about it. I read books, like listen to podcasts and whatnot. But I thought that I had to do residential first to get into multifamily and commercial real estate.
That's the biggest lie.
That's the biggest lie ever.
You can go directly into commercial real estate. That would have probably saved me 3.5 years of my life.
Yeah.
So anyone watching this, if you're looking to get into commercial real estate, you do not have to go into residential first. It could be a good option as far as building capital and stuff. But if I could go back in time, I would have just went straight into commercial real estate.
And I skipped commercial. I skipped single family altogether. I jumped right into multifamily, going from 0 units to 76.
There you go.
To me, and I was so glad I made that decision to do that, because from there it really launched us into where we are today. 3,800 units in 5 different states. But if I had to start with a smaller deal, that would have really taken a lot longer to build that portfolio. So go big or go home, folks.
Go big or go home. I mean, you got to 10x. What does Grant Cardone say? 10x your goals. And it was funny because right before I jumped in full time to real estate, as junior going on senior year in college, I wrote down my goals, and it was so funny because I just moved from Michigan to Austin, Texas. Michigan's where I started and did my first couple deals. And as I was packing everything up and moving everything, I found an old notebook. And I used to write my goals down every single day. I'd write, I think I have a handful, 5 or 6 notebooks, literally full page after page of my goals. Like every single day I would write them down, sometimes twice a day. And I found this, and it was, I think, May of 2016. And I wrote down, it's one of the first sets of goals, and I wrote down I wanted 100 units within a year. and I wanted to buy 500 units within 3 years.
All right.
And I looked back at that, and I had bought 120 units it was about 13 or 14 months after I wrote that down.
Okay.
And I crossed the 500 unit line, just April of this year.
Okay.
So about a month, literally a month before that 3-year goal. I had totally forgotten I wrote that down, but yeah, so it's kind of funny, the power of writing your goals down and just
You've got to
going
do
big.
that. Yeah, the goal setting is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to.
You don't have a target, you're not going to hit,
Right, and you got to write it down. You got to look at it every day, and they got to be smart goals, right? Something that you can actually strive for and actually hit, but also ones that push you. And most of the time, you look at that, you end up starting to figure out how to get there, right? How to get to 100 units, how to get to 500, and you kind of work backwards. Okay, what am I missing?
Yeah,
on all that.
Yeah, and if that sounds like complex or too, I mean, in my opinion, some people kind of have it, some people don't, being an entrepreneur. Some people are meant to be like a number 1 entrepreneur. Some people are meant to be a number 5 or number 10 in the company, right? And they'll do excellent at that. And you have to be resourceful enough to understand that there's no book you can read that can tell you exactly how to do it. There's no podcast. There's no movie. There's nothing that you can. I can't just go to Kenny and say, Kenny, how do I do it? Because he's not going to come and put in the 80 hours a week I had to put in for 3 years straight to get to where I'm at, right? So you have to be a little resourceful and think outside the box and be willing to just be tenacious and do whatever the hell it takes.
So whenever you're writing your goal down 100 units, I did the same. I wanted to do 300 units, right? Or I put 100 plus units on my goals, and I targeted a building that was 212 units where I lived, and still want to buy that building, so I'm not gonna tell you where it is.
Let's do it.
But yeah, it was 212 units, and it was a C-class deal, and it was a very specific type of product I wanted to buy, right? And what ended up happening was I closed that one was 214 units, and then I ended up closing a 212 unit deal in Atlanta.
Nice.
Like how crazy is that? The only regret I have is not adding a 0 to my goals.
Okay.
So now I write down 2,000 units.
Sure.
So I think you could setting goals. Any goal is possible if you have the right partners and if you have the right people. Because I definitely didn't do this by myself. Shout out to Ben Ferris with Disrupt Equity and Mark with Think Multifamily. They're the ones who I partnered with on the 2 deals we did in Atlanta. So I think that's really important as well. Is how do you find the right partnerships? Whenever you're starting off, especially this young, because I didn't have like $500,000 liquid to go put earnest money down and different things like that. So how did you get started whenever it came to your first big multifamily deal?
Yeah, and that's a good point too, like finding the right partners. A lot of people ask that, and it's a hard question to answer because you almost have to be in the right place at the right time. And I could talk a little bit more about how I found my current business partner today later on. But first deal I did was a 12-unit apartment complex in a C area in Michigan, maybe C minus. And I was just underwriting tons of deals, reaching out to brokers constantly, looking at properties, touring them. And so I got a 12-unit under contract, and then the next week later I actually got an offer accepted on another 12-unit, different broker, about 2 blocks away. It was like on the same street. It was kind of funny. And so we ended up going through, and I raised about $180K-ish for each of those deals. We bought those, and I self-managed them. I held them for about a year and a half. But those were the first 2 deals, and it was really good. Everyone wants to jump in so big right away. And I think that was instrumental for me, was starting a little smaller, so that I learned the whole process going through with the lender and underwriting, due diligence, how to manage, because I self-managed them. How does all that work? What are the complications that come up? And that's all helped me grow more and more, and enables me to kind of see things that maybe somebody who's never self-managed might not be able to see. And so buying those 2 led me to about 6 months later, I closed on a 96 unit. And that was I think that was my biggest challenge to date, because I'd raised $1.7 million. And I was 21 years old. And I had I barely had any capital contacts. I don't have family money like that, So that was insane. I cold called like 200, 250 people asking for money. Most of the people I didn't even know. And somehow cobbled together $1.7 million to buy that property. And that property was an interesting story in itself, how I found it. But
how'd you find that deal?
so I sent out a mailer. It's just a really simple professional letterhead. I'm interested in buying apartments that you own here. And I sent out maybe a couple hundred of them. And a guy calls me. He's sitting in Miami in his second home. He's from Michigan. And I come to find out he owns like 4,000 units free and clear on his own.
Wow.
He owns another $400 or $500 million in senior living developments that he's doing right now. So he owns like well over $1 billion in real estate, mostly on his own. So this guy is legit old school. He's like 71 years old, and we hit it off, and he just really liked me. So he gave me a shot. I told him, I said I'd never bought a property this big before. It was 96 units. We bought it for $4.2 million. And he just liked me, and because I built that relationship with him, I ended up buying it, raised some money. We're on at about $5 million, and we're selling it for close to $7 million right now. So
wow.
Yeah, I think we bought it for $43 a door. We're selling it for $70 a door.
Wow.
So our investors are doing really well. I get to see my first large promote on a deal. Yeah, so it's kind of cool from start to finish seeing how that went.
Right, it's nice to go full cycle on those deals to see for you, but also for the investors too, so they can see kind of this is real money, because we keep telling them, like, this is what it's valued at. When you actually get that big check back, then they can actually see it in their hands.
Mm-hmm.
It's very tangible, right? Like projections now on our deals are 5 or 6 years, 100% return, right? So when deals go full cycle, and they go full cycle earlier, and you can exceed their expectations, they're like, wow, and then they're like, okay, when's the next deal? And the next deal. So once this one sells, I'm sure people are going to be lining up.
They're all ready to come back in. Yeah, they're excited.
Yeah.
So how'd you raise money on the deal? Like, and this was one of the challenges I had whenever I started in the business, and it's like, okay, how am I supposed to raise money, right? And I had a different approach. I doing shows like this. I put myself out there. What were some of your strategies as far as raising equity and qualifying people to investing in your deal?
Yeah, so the biggest chunk of equity on that came from a guy locally that owns a couple thousand apartments, and he liked the deal. I met up with him. He wanted to get involved, and I needed a loan guarantor, a sponsor.
Okay.
So he sponsored the loan, and then he brought in a couple of his friends, and he invested himself for about $600,000 or $700,000 of the pot, and then the rest was like friends, family type investors. A lot of new people that I met, a lot of local, maybe smaller time real estate investors, dentists, doctors, attorneys. And I just basically sat down and I wrote out a list of all the people I knew that had money. And I just started calling them. I would ask them for referrals every time I would call them. I'd be like, hey, do you know anybody else that that has money that you think might be able to invest or is interested? And just kind of spider web from there, networked at events, stuff like that, and ended up, I don't think I'd raised the full amount by the time we closed. There was like $200,000 or $300,000 short, but we only needed $1.1 million to actually close on it and get started. So the rest kind of trickled in the month or two after.
And we said this before, but multifamily is such a team sport.
Oh,
I mean,
sure.
on so many levels, with the raising money or the management team, or whatever you've got going on, the lending. But yeah, I mean, your story is points to that you've got to have the team, or get a deal under contract, then you find the team.
Yeah.
That's similar to my story too.
Yeah.
As about that deal, like, I didn't know where the investor money was coming from.
No.
All these things like were a little bit unknown. So you're, especially that first deal, your hand shaking when you sign the contract.
Oh yeah.
And you're,
let's be honest, I was scared shitless when that first happened.
I mean, you're nervous. I mean, you
totally.
really are, and it's a rush, and you just got to have the faith and the gumption to go for it. And when you do that, most folks are going to make that happen.
Definitely.
You just got to make it happen.
Oh yeah,
for sure. I think whenever you get your first deal under contract, I think it's really important that y'all identify y'all's team, loan guarantors, people with net worth and liquidity, operators, capital raisers. I mean, your equity. Where is your investors coming from?
Yeah.
Is there time, like the time right? If say in the next 60 days under contract, who are you gonna get your equity?
Yeah.
Right. So those are all important factors to consider whenever you're doing that. But I think if you find the right deal, the team will come,
Sure.
and the equity will come. Like
Right.
no problem.
You got to have that faith that will happen though, and that's the big deal.
Yeah.
You know, on our first deal, like we didn't have any. I mean, as a first deal sponsor, you don't have that.
No.
You don't have that track record. You don't have the big following of your investors your investor database, all that kind of stuff. And so it's such a big leap.
Yeah.
I remember that waking up a few nights in a cold sweat.
Like, am I gonna get
on
this
that
done?
first deal?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big deal.
It is scary.
And we closed on time, and
Awesome.
and it's been great. But it's a scary time.
It is a scary time, yeah.
And it can be a challenge. I think one thing y'all can do to alleviate it is partner with someone who has a track record. I say this on every show, but it's very important to partner with someone with a track record, because you can utilize their track record with in your partnership into getting more deals, into raising money and different things like that. Because if you've never done a deal
You'll feel
before,
a lot more comfortable too.
and you feel a lot more comfortable because Mark has done I don't know how many deals. I think he bought 20 deals last year, which is crazy, but he had the track record experience. Ben and Ferris, same thing. They're really solid operators, and my role was raising capital and a few other things, but I think you had that right team, you can go and do big deals straight away. But it's having the team is really important.
Yeah.
And also most importantly, if you have the deal.
Yeah. Yeah. If you have a
everything else
deal,
will
yeah, a
just
lot of
follow.
times the money will follow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think you have to be super tenacious though. Like you can't just, you're not just going to go in and make an offer and just email it in and have it get accepted and then money start flowing into you. I mean, you've got to be like ferocious too.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be really on your game, pushing every second of the way, taking no breaks and really making sure that everything comes together right, because you have a lot of investors' money on the line.
Yep.
And this is money that people have worked really hard for and saved over their lives. And if you don't take that seriously, investors aren't going to take you seriously, and
you won't
they're
last.
going to learn. Yeah, you won't last at all. Not
So
a chance.
it's a long-term game. I think that's something really important for y'all to understand. This is not a short-term, like flip a couple houses type of thing. You're operating a multi-million-dollar business essentially. That happens to be real estate. So there's so many different moving parts. So I think that's really important for y'all to know. So going back to your first deal, that one you're selling this year, right?
Yeah, so we're closing, within 30 days.
Oh, awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, within 30 days we'll get like a 35 IRR to our investors, and so it's going really smooth.
How long was that whole time?
About a year and a half. So it's like a
Pretty solid.
1.6 equity multiple over a year and a half. Yeah.
That's really solid.
Yeah, so we did really well on that. And I self-managed that too.
Really?
And I think it might be important to point out, I think I hold the record for the largest house hack ever, because what I did was I bought that property, I self-managed it. For some reason, Freddie Mac let me self-manage it. Don't know why. And I have an on-site manager and maintenance, and I wanted to learn property management because I wanted to get better at it, because that's one thing that even today I don't think is my skill. So that's why I hire a third party now. But I moved in. I kind of tricked out one of the 2 bedrooms there. I moved in on site, and I lived there for a while and oversaw the property. I'd wake up every day, make sure the property was super clean, and make sure everything was organized, that we were leasing on time, that everything was going well. So I got to get really hands-on, and house acted 96-unit apartment complex.
That's pretty bold, man.
That's some guts.
Yeah.
So did the tenants know? Did the residents know which unit was yours?
Some of them did, but I wouldn't tell anybody I was the owner. I was always the regional manager.
Okay.
I don't want people, because I always wanted to be able to say like, oh, I got to ask my boss, or like we got to check with the owner,
I did the same
So
thing.
I wouldn't tell. Yeah.
I would have done the
When
same
we show
thing,
up
man.
on property, I'm either the insurance guy or with the management company.
Okay,
I'm
there you
never
go.
the owner.
There you go. I don't mind doing it if I have a property management company in place, but if I'm living there,
Yeah, right. That's
so I
what
probably won't do again at another property. But
people banging on your door.
people banging on your door. Yeah, I had that happen a couple times actually.
Did you? I bet. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was crazy. Actually, one time I had to evict a guy. Real nice guy. He just he couldn't afford the rents because they were $200 or $300 below market.
Okay.
And so we started raising them, and I tried to work with him, but he couldn't stay, unfortunately, and we had to evict him. And I went to a corner store down the street, and I hear him say my name, and it was the most, it was the scariest thing I ever heard in my life, because he got a really deep voice, and he says my name out of the corner because he was working there. He got a job there.
Okay.
And it was just, so don't live in your apartments if you can help it.
Yeah, we all recommend that.
Yeah, we don't recommend it. Yeah, 10 out of 10 would not recommend.
Right.
Awesome. So what are you working on now? Now that you've done your first deal, what did the rest of it look like? What was your second deal look like?
Yeah, so after that, I had a business partner I worked on my first couple deals with up through that one, and we split in the beginning of 2018. And last year, I was kind of in limbo. I was looking at a lot of deals. I was going to a lot of events. I joined Rod's mastermind, and I think I work really well when I have a business partner who's a heavy driver, because I'm a very analytical side of things. I love the numbers, so I think I'm a really good combo when I've got somebody that's just a heavy driver, is great with, has a lot of relationships and can raise money and stuff like that, which I like doing as well, but I think we work well together. So I met Glenn Gonzalez, who you know now. You were just at the golf tournament with us this past weekend. And he, it's kind of funny because I was in this mastermind, the multifamily boardroom. I was the youngest and smallest owner. And I think Glenn was, I don't know by age the oldest, but he was
probably the oldest. Glenn, if you're watching,
if you're watching, Glenn, you're probably the oldest. No, he's still young at heart.
Yeah.
But he was the biggest owner. He owned about 5,000 apartments, and so we linked up. We got along really well, and I think he talked to his wife and told her about me, and she's like, "This is the kind of guy you need to partner with," because he had gone through a split with a partner. They owned about $250 million in multifamily, and they split for various reasons. And so Glenn was kind of looking to continue building the company on his own separately going forward. And then we met. We decided to go and buy a deal together. So we bought a property south of Houston, 160 units together. It went so well that we're like, let's just team up. Let's build a company together. So we started Obsidian Capital, which is our current company. And we've since bought, that was ended 2018, so within the past 6 months. And then we bought another 140 units in Fort Worth, which is actually like 15 minutes from here. And that one's going very well. We're doing a 50-unit ground-up development in Austin. We're just outside of Austin, Texas, where I've now moved to.
All right.
And we're also building our new corporate headquarters. So we just bought a piece of land, and we're going to do a ground-up development for a new office building for our company to take us to $1 billion.
Nice.
That's awesome.
So that's
All
the
right.
goal. Yeah.
Good, man.
So that's what we're working on now.
Well, good. We're gonna cut to a quick break, real quick. But if you're watching, make sure to like, comment, and share. Guys, start getting those questions ready for the Q&A section coming up at the end of the show. We'll be right back.
The Propelio Academy, an all-in-one education resource for training in wholesales, subject to wraps, short sales, flips, rentals, BRRRR, property management, and more. Go to propelio.com/academy to get your scholarship today. Propelio.com. What does Propelio offer? Lead generating websites, access to true MLS comps, off-market lead lists, and deal alerts. Get them all today at propelio.com.
All right, welcome back to the Commercial Cash Flow Show. Today in the hot seat, we have David Toupin with Obsidian Capital. So we're talking about his journey in multifamily investing. So yeah, let's continue on how you met your business partner, because I think that's very key to finding the right partners. Kenny, I don't know how you've done it these past couple of years. I mean, I know you partnered on the first few, and then now more of like a solo type of thing. So I think one thing I've learned is like there's different personality types in multifamily, right? So like David, for example, very analytical guy. He can underwrite deals and stuff. I'm more the guy out there raising capital and all the different stuff, talking to brokers and stuff. So how have you done it? With
So we've my story was we went passive twice on 2 deals here in DFW to kind of learn the ropes, and then we jumped into I was a deal sponsor on my own. I didn't get a co-sponsor. Mostly because I was able to get a Fannie Mae loan on my own because of one of the passive deals we were in was a Fannie Mae loan.
Nice.
So that allowed me to go right off the bat and get into that. So I'm not a solo guy. We've got a great team below us. We've got an asset manager. It's awesome. We've got Christine, who does everything at the office. We started adding to that now. We've got another person we added. We got 2 interns at the office this summer. So anyways, we really kind of started adding to the team that way to take care of the investment side. And then a little over a year ago, I bought into Allied Property Management to kind of bring that in-house because I got frustrated with third-party management. I would make a suggestion or have things I wanted to tweak.
Never get done.
And they would never get done. They wouldn't listen to me. So when you do that, you can either build your own and create 80 hours a week for yourself, or you can go buy into one. And so I bought into one. That was a much better way to go. So so that's how I've done it, is to do it that way. But there's a lot of other ways to do it. I mean, I've seen so many people partner up, and they've been so successful doing that as well. So it just kind of depends on what your goals are, how fast you want to grow, what you need to, what you're, like you're saying, like, you know, you're more the analytical guy, but maybe Glenn's better at the operations, right? There's different. So you have to know your strengths and weaknesses, right?
Oh, totally.
And so it just depends on what those are and how you fill those. And again, it's such a team sport. There's so many moving parts, like you said, that you can't cover them all. So you either have to hire to cover all those, or you team up to cover them. And so it just kind of depends on how you want to grow and do that.
Absolutely.
No, I think that's really important. How did you know that Glenn was the right business partner? Y'all talked about, you know, getting into doing one deal, and then from there, how did you know?
Well, I mean, at first, just knowing how much experience he had, it was like, I just wanted to do a deal with him. I wanted to buy a property with him and see how he operated. The guy's super ethical, good family man, a lot of good morals. We were aligned on a lot of those points together.
It's very important. Your
So
core
important.
values need to align.
Have to align. I mean, you're not going to connect well and work well with a business partner long term if you don't align with them like that. And I just consider him like a best friend. You know, we're very tight. We hang out a lot together. We like a lot of the same things. We like going hunting and shooting outside, outdoors, boating. And so I think if you have a business partner, you should be very close friends with them too. Because if you're with somebody that when things go south and things go wrong, which happens all the time, and they either jump ship or turn against you, that's a bad business partner to be with. You need to be with somebody that you can connect better when things are going wrong and find solutions. And so if you can't connect on all those levels, you're not going to have a successful partnership. That's a blanket statement. You won't.
And then you got to make sure too that your timeline and your exit strategy, kind of what do those look like? Because you know, so you see some of these partnerships that don't go so well because one wants to sell, you know, in the next 10 years, one wants to hold forever. So you got to make sure that timeline matches up too. That's a big one.
Absolutely. And the fact that we're both deal junkies. I mean, I just love real estate. I love putting deals together, start to finish. The hunt and the chase for finding a deal. That's my favorite thing in the world. So he's the same way. I mean, you know, we work 7 days a week. But it's fun. You know, our friends are involved in it. We work with people we really enjoy working with, and we're starting to build a great team out of Austin there.
I think that's important. If you can enjoy working with the people, it makes things a lot easier.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure we've all experienced jobs we didn't like.
Yeah, I mean, who wants to work
How
with people
hard
they
is
hate?
that, you know?
You spend most of your time there.
Right.
You know,
And the cool thing about building your own company is you can pick the people you work with, you know, and also in multifamily, another cool thing is like you partner with someone, it goes well, good, right? But say you partner with someone and then they change, or, you know, some sort of mishap happens, you never have to partner with them again.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so on that note, if you're thinking about partnering with somebody, do a deal with them first separately. Don't go and start a company with somebody until you, you know, date. It's like dating, right? You're not just going to go and marry somebody. Being in a partnership is like being married. You have millions of dollars of assets together. You have operating expenses. You might have a lease on an office or whatever. I mean, all this stuff is hard to break up if you guys want to go your separate ways. So do yourself a favor and first test it out and buy a deal together separately. See how it goes. If it doesn't work out, you can always just sell that property, or one person could buy the other person out. But it's less complex, and you can get to see how somebody actually works. So that's what we did when me and Glenn first met.
Yeah.
We dated.
That's good.
Yeah,
business-wise.
Right.
I think Glenn's story is awesome too, because he went from maintenance man to how many units?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, about 5,000.
5,000 units. Maintenance man to owning 5,000 units.
Yeah, the dude was in his early 20s and was fixing toilets and blinds and leasing out apartments, and then he worked his way up to be the on-site manager, the regional manager, the president of the management company, and then started buying apartments in the last decade and built a very large portfolio. And so he's literally been involved in every single aspect from the ground up in the business, and he is an absolute expert at operations. He knows it like the back of his hand.
Yeah,
Which is great for us.
And what are the lessons you've learned from working with Glenn directly?
The list would be so long, I couldn't even
say top
begin to describe. Just even the way we talked about this one the other day, the way he visits and builds relationships with on-site managers and the on-site employees, because when it comes down to it, those are the people that are actually implementing your plan, leasing the units.
Right.
And if they don't think that the owner is backing them, and we don't realize this as much, but they put a lot of weight. I mean, think you're an employee and you've got somebody that owns this property, and imagine having an employee that thinks their owner cares a lot about them and supports them and thinks their opinion's important and actually teaches them, versus an owner that's never there. They don't care about them. They don't what's going to motivate them to show up and kick ass?
Right.
Nothing. So we sit down, and I've watched Glenn do this several times, and he'll teach them. He'll say, print off a T12 real quick. I want to show you something. And I'll show them how to calculate net operating income. And I'll show them how that affects the value of our building based on a cap rate.
Right.
And a lot of people wouldn't think that you should teach this to the on-site managers, but that's the most important thing. Their job is to increase the NOI. They should know how it affects the value of the property and how we can bring a property from being worth $10 million to $15 million by increasing the NOI. So things like that, and they love it, that they're learning, that they're growing, that they're evolving. These aren't, they're people. They have ambitions and goals of their own. So that is one huge thing. Another, man, I don't know. There's so many little things I learn from him all the time. Yeah, negotiation tactics. He's an expert negotiator. I just listen. I just sit back and listen to him, and I'm like,
I witnessed that on Saturday.
Yeah, you witnessed it. Yeah, so you just sit back and listen to how he talks and puts in offers. He's a closer. Yeah. So I just learn all these little tactics and strategies. It's phenomenal. Yeah. I
think if you surround yourself with the right people, they can elevate you, to a level that you wouldn't imagine.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it's like partnering with Glenn. I'm sure you've grown tremendously since you partnered with him. So I think that's one of the most important steps in multifamily is surrounding yourself with the right people that are not only, good business savvy, but you can get along with, and then, also can have fun with. I think if you have a good combination of that and can be productive, it can be a great thing.
Oh yeah.
And networking, I mean, jumping right into that, networking is such a big deal in multifamily that you've got to go to these events. You've got to go to masterminds if you can get in. We're in Rod Cleef's mastermind. Meets 3 times a year, pretty cool spots.
Oh yeah.
We're in San Diego, I think, in January.
Yep.
Denver's coming up in July, and I don't know when the next one is, but it's also or where. But it's usually pretty cool spots for 2 days. We in that room we're locked into a room for 2 days. Not locked, but
pretty much.
There's a few breaks.
Rod locks us in there.
But everybody wants to be in the room, so it's kind of like you're locked in. But
it's enjoyable.
We've got like 30 people there, and there's like I don't know how many, 5 billion I think was in the room last time, and and we all own in different parts of the country, and some are starting out kind of newish, but have some experience. Some are like Glenn, he's got 5,000 units. I mean, so it's a wide range. So we've seen a lot of stuff, and so usually it's 2 days of getting up saying, hey, if we don't know you, if you're new. Hello and who you are, but most of it's like, okay, this is what we're doing. This is where I need help at.
Sure.
And so, but how awesome is that to have, another, 4.5 billion worth of wherever 4.5 billion of
mentors and friends
right
and
there to help you out. And everybody's there to give. I mean, that's the cool thing.
And it was funny, like one of the people on my acquisitions team, they cold call for us in different markets. They cold called you on a property, and they're like, oh, I found this property in Columbus. He said he might be interested in selling. And then it was like 3 conversations later, he's like, I think this guy named Kenny Wolfe owns it. I'm like, let me just call Kenny. So it's like, you should have told me in the beginning, but no, it was awesome.
Yeah,
it was perfect. So I called Kenny up, and it was great.
Yeah, it's
small world, man. You never know who's gonna own what or who you're gonna run into, or and that's why it's important, I think, to also have just a ton of integrity in this business. Doing the right thing is always the right thing, because it will come back to bite you if you don't.
We've had, we've had, we were buying a deal in Haltom City, the Oaks of Jane Lane, which is about to be sold. But we bought that deal. At the same time, we had a deal in Colorado Springs under contract. And the broker calls me up from the Holtham City deal and said, hey, the seller says he recognizes your name on this deal. And I said, okay, I don't know. I mean, I've got a Facebook account. I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know how he knows me. But he said, well, I think you're buying his deal in Colorado Springs too. I said, oh yeah, we are buying a deal in Colorado Springs. I didn't know it was the same seller. And he goes, can you do it? I'm like, heck yeah.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah, we can close it. So we ended up closing both,
awesome.
but it's such a small world that you don't know. And the owner was from, I think, from out in Malibu. But he owned a deal in Colorado Springs and one in Haltom City, Texas, of all places.
That's
so,
awesome.
That and it also matters how you do business and how you do transactions, because if you're out to kind of do one over on somebody, on a seller, you may do one or two deals, and then your
might as well quit.
Yeah, your name's going to be muddied very quickly, because it's not like you need in single family. What I've heard, you need to know like 1,000 brokers to get a few deals, right?
Sure.
And there's the broker count is so small in multifamily.
Yeah.
And the owner count too, right? I mean, we don't know each other, but we probably know of each other.
Yep.
In some degree, and so you got to play nice when you're doing those transactions. So like when we do, we were selling a deal in Irving. And I told the guy, look, I don't retrade my deals. If I do a price and it's if I don't go back and ask for paint or parking lot stuff that you see on your tour, like you don't ask for that as a credit.
No.
When you do actually your due diligence. So I told the broker, I said, look, this is how we do business. I expect this seller or this buyer to do the same. To act accordingly. And he came back and asked for paint. I'm like,
are you serious?
Yeah, he asked for paint, parking lot, and I was like, okay, so the broker sent me the sheet. He wanted like, I don't know, 150 or 200K off, and so it was the line by line breakdown. So I just crossed out everything he would have seen on a property tour and said, okay, I'll fix the 30K of foundation. That's fine. He didn't see that.
He couldn't have seen that.
And the roof was brand new, so he couldn't. So he didn't ask for that, but. I was like, oh my gosh, like not only but
I told you this up front.
Yeah, there's no way. I mean, I don't retrade that kind of stuff.
No.
So anyways, he ended up taking the deal and buying it anyways. But that kind of stuff you just don't do. Otherwise, it'd be one deal and you're done.
Yep, you've got to create a good reputation.
Talk about what retrading is to our audience that doesn't know.
So retrading is when you say we look at a property, we write through the offer for $10 million, and then we do our due diligence and we find. For ourselves, we find foundation issues or roof. Usually we ask for some kind of credit if that needs to be addressed, because we wouldn't have seen that on our due diligence report.
Especially if they didn't tell you about it.
Yeah, if they didn't tell you about it. And sometimes they don't know about it. Like I didn't know about the 30K worth of foundation. I mean, that you just don't know sometimes. And so on that stuff, we'll retrade, we'll ask for a credit, but other folks do paint that they should have seen beforehand.
Paint.
So,
it's like, come on, man.
Right? Come on, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for real.
Anyways.
I think there's different negotiation strategies with multifamily and with single family.
Oh yeah.
Single family, it's a penny pinching game. That's what I feel.
Yeah.
Like it's just like it's like honestly, I think some wholesalers aren't ethical. They're like just literally stealing equity, right? It's like if it's not in the best interest of the seller, you know what I mean? So it's just like there's so many things.
Normally not.
You get a deal under contract.
Majority of the
right?
time it's not.
As a listing agent, because I see this a lot, is like buyer sends me an offer, gets the deal under contract, and then boom, everything on the inspection report they want, right? So it's just like gets kind of frustrating. But I think in multifamily, what's cool about our business, like you're not supposed to retrade unless it's like very particular ticket items like foundation and stuff. All that should be disclosed up front if you're aware of it. So I think there's a key difference, right? So when you're getting to multifamily, don't be a retrader. It's going to ruin your reputation, and you won't be able to do deals. So I think having integrity is really important when it comes to that, and how you handle yourself in a transaction is important, because if you're, we're all going after the same deal, right? And one of us is known for a retrader, and one of us is known for this, and then Kenny's the closer, right? Who's going to win the deal?
Yep.
It's going to be Kenny.
That's right.
Kenny.
Good.
Exactly. It's just that's you have to set yourself apart whenever it comes to these deals, because DFW, all these different markets, it's extremely competitive, right? So it's like how you handle your business is important.
Absolutely.
So what are some of the top networking tips you have? Because I know you're a huge networker. You got your own Facebook group. It's a 10x.
Yeah, so it's called 10x Apartment Investing and Franchise Mastery. And so the guy I started with, Kevin Easterly, he owns a bunch of franchises. I own a lot of apartments. He owns some apartments too. So we decided to start this group together. And nobody else was doing it at the time. But what we do is we get in the group and we're constantly doing Facebook Live videos. And people just dig it. And we've grown to about 1,500 members in the past 6 months.
Nice.
And super active group. I mean, the activity rate on our group is like 40 or 50% of the members are actively in and out. So
that's really good.
Yeah, it's really high. It's awesome. A lot of good networking. I'll show people while I'm going on property tours. I'll take a live video. I'll do like story time with Glenn type of thing. We'll sit down. I'll be like, Glenn, give us some tips of the day type of stuff. So yeah, so it's great. Facebook group has been a really huge for building brand. I go to a lot of events. I think I've been to like at least 10 or 12 events so far this year, and it's only May.
All right.
So it's only May.
I'm like different place every weekend. I love meeting new people. Anytime I get a chance to get up on a panel and speak and share some knowledge, I love doing that. And I'm just always talking to people about the business. It's all I do.
Yeah, I think that's important, right? Like going to all these events. Like if you're just sitting on the couch at home wanting to be in multifamily, it's not going to work for you, right? So even joining like one of those mentoring programs and stuff, you pay the 30 grand or whatever, that still won't get you your first deal.
No.
It may help, right? I think it's very important. And Mark Kenny, one of our sponsors, has a really good program. So if y'all should check it out. But I think these groups, like you have to take action. Right. I think that's really important. And
you have to make it your identity.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to make it your identity. And I've thought about this a lot recently. And there's so many people that really want to get started, and it's just like a side gig for them. Right? Yep. Like when I got into it, it was who I am, and it is today. It's who I am. I'm a multifamily investor. I invest in real estate. That's, when you ask me who are you, that's what I say. So I think you have to make it's part of your identity, and you have to be all in on it.
And something that you have to really enjoy, because it's so time consuming. I mean, when I go to the office, I had a W-2 job in the past, back in the oil and gas days.
Back in the old days,
oil and gas days, that's right. But left that, and now, I used to not care to go to the office some days. Now, I mean, I don't mind going to the office. I mean, it's nice. I enjoy going to the office doing emails, and I mean, I get up at 4:30, knock out an hour worth of emails, hit the gym. But you've got to have that kind of commitment. To build your business, your brand,
totally.
Find deals, make sure all the property and on-site staff are pushing the right direction. It's just, I mean, it's a lot going on.
It takes a lot of time.
And you've got to enjoy it, otherwise you'll burn out.
It's
real
not
fast.
a side job.
It's not a side job.
Especially,
it's not a side hustle.
It's not a side hustle, and a lot of people really want to get involved in this and do it, but they don't. I don't think a lot of people realize how involved asset management is either.
It is.
And it can be a side hustle if you're a passive investor, right?
Yes,
I mean,
totally.
That's the role. If you don't want to be the person that's working at all crazy hours and putting everything out there and just this is your focus.
You'd be a passive investor.
Then the passive investor is a perfect way to go. I mean, we've got a lot of those folks, obviously. So, I mean, there's a role for everybody in multifamily. You just got to know what you're comfortable with doing.
Correct.
By doing that. So.
Correct.
I agree. We're going to take a quick break, and please be sure to like, comment, and share. David is an expert in multifamily, so if you want to ask him questions, here's your opportunity. Please be sure to comment below, and we'll be right back.
Cool.
The Propelio Academy, an all-in-one education resource for training in wholesales, subject to wraps, short sales, flips, rentals, BRRRR, property management, and more. Go to propelio.com/academy to get your scholarship today. Propelio.com. What does Propelio offer? Lead generating websites, access to true MLS comps, off-market lead lists, and deal alerts. Get them all today at propelio.com.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Commercial Cash Flow Show. We've got David Toupin in the seat today. We'll keep the conversation going. Real quick, we wanted to highlight our next Multifamily Investor Network Conference in Santa Monica, California, June 22nd. We've got some awesome speakers there. You'll see them, Neil Bow, Gene Trowbridge, Rod Khleif. We also have Kathy Fetke as well. She's going to be there. We've got breakout sessions, guest speakers, one amazing day. No sales pitch. There's no like run to the back of the room, pay us $20K. This is not what this is about. It's just education, just networking. It's something we wanted to do, and we're with the last one we had about 200 people, 250 people maybe show up, and it was a great time. Everybody loved it. The networking was great, education was great. It's for everybody from newbies, people starting out, to deal sponsors, and it's just a place where we can all kind of congregate and build a better network together.
Love it. I want to give a plug to Kenny's event. Absolutely incredible event in Houston. Y'all did a really good job. It's a reason, partnering with Ben and Ferris, they're very detail oriented, especially Ferris. So it's just like, even like plated lunches, right? Like stuff like this, the details matter. So this is the best multifamily conference I've been to. So if y'all haven't checked it out, make sure y'all, book a plane ticket today and for Santa Monica, June 22nd, mfinvestornetwork.com.
Right.
Make sure y'all check it out. And if y'all have any questions on the conference, please be sure to direct message us. We'd be more than happy to answer the questions. But this is a really great opportunity for you to meet deal sponsors and meet other passive investors. And the speaker lineup is amazing. I mean, very high quality. I mean, Neil with the whole data, and Rod and Gene. I mean, these guys are top class. So I just wanted to make sure I say that as well. My review.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Awesome.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, good. Yeah. Hopefully to see everybody out there in Santa Monica. Come check it out. We're making them, and we're going to host them in cities where it's fun to be and travel with. That way, if you can take your family, like I'm doing, I'm showing up a few days early. Going to hang out in LA with the kiddos and wife. So it'll be fun.
Sweet, man. That's awesome.
We're talking about partnerships and different things like that. David, and networking as well. So you talked about your investor Facebook group. I think that's a really good thing to do to get out there. And you spoke on stage, at Rod Khleif's event, which was just phenomenal to see you speak, man. It was just like I was like, man, that's so cool. And just like, because David's 2 years younger than me, and you own about what, 600
Close
units?
to 600, yeah.
Which is like, that's phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
So anyone can do it in this business. You just have to have the work ethic. And I think, this is why we do these shows, so we can expose more people to multifamily, and also why Kenny hosts conferences is because we have more people to get involved, right? So you have any other final thoughts as far as, what you wanted to talk about today?
No, I think it's important for people to know that if they want to get into the business of buying apartments, raising capital, you need to be in it for the long term.
Right.
You need to be resilient and understand that you're not going to make millions of dollars overnight. You have to plan at least like 3 to 5 years to really ramping up and starting to build a business, because it's just, I mean, you know as well as anybody, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen quickly, and you could build a very, very significant amount of wealth over a long period of time doing this, but you will not do that in a short period of time.
Yeah, it's a long-term game, that's for sure.
You have to be patient. Be so patient,
Yeah, and I think
because you don't want to force it and buy the wrong deal.
Oh yeah,
definitely not.
That's something that you got to be careful of.
Yeah.
You don't want to force it. You do want to, I quit my 6-figure salary job and replaced that income over 3 years doing multifamily. And I did have to do a little bit of a side hustle to get it going and multifamily, but built it up through 2 passive investments, so we had cash flow coming in like that. But then syndicated and 2 or 3 deals after that. To make sure that it was there, because at the time I had a wife and kid, so to make sure that money was really coming in.
Sure.
But it takes probably 3 to 5 years at this point.
Yeah.
Probably a little longer at this point because it's harder to find deals today.
Yeah.
They're definitely still out there, but you really got to dig deep.
Totally.
But you don't want to force it and buy the wrong deal, because you might be one and done.
You might be one and done. Yeah.
You might be one and done. It's such a small world. So. That's the only thing I would add to that is it's definitely a long-term game.
Yeah, I think long-term, and your first deal needs to be a slam dunk.
Oh yeah.
I think that's very important, guys.
Just
you need to
be patient. Yeah. do the right one.
and be very patient because everyone wants to get into deals, and
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of newer sponsors like they just go and do a deal just to do a deal,
Right.
a
Yeah.
small one, all that kind of stuff. I do not recommend going small.
No.
I recommend doing a 100+ unit deal and co-sponsoring it. I
Yep.
think that's important, right? And find what your skill set is. David's skill set is underwriting. Mine has been raising capital. Kenny's has been operations and whole bunch of other stuff, saving
Little bit of
deals.
everything.
I guess so. Yeah.
So it's just and the cool thing is whenever in multifamily, like you can sharpen your skill sets with the people you're around, right?
Absolutely.
Like, if I hang out with David long enough, I can be an expert at underwriting deals. You have a deal analyzer, right?
I do, yeah. Yeah, so anyone interested in learning how to get into this, you first have to know the numbers, in my
Right.
opinion. I think one of the most important things is knowing the numbers so that you can pitch it to investors, you can talk to lenders, you can talk to management companies. You just have to know the numbers behind it. And so I built this deal analyzer. It's an Excel spreadsheet from scratch. And I sell it on my website, obsidiancapitalco.com.
And we'll be
And-
sure to put that link in the
Yeah.
description below.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people. I mean, there's some big name ones out there. A lot of people buy Michael Blanc's or whatever. There's all these other ones. I've sold a couple hundred now, and people switch from those to mine, and they love how simple it is, easy to use, but it's also does everything they need it to do. So
I think check a few out and see what's the best fit for you. But
they all essentially
definitely-
do the same thing.
They all essentially do the same thing,
Yeah.
but it's not like a magic thing, right?
It's not going to do it for you.
It's not going to
Yeah.
analyze the deal for you. Maybe we need to build something like
You
that
still
where it
gotta-
can just
I'm
scan
working
in the
on it right now,
T12 and the
actually.
rent rolls
Yeah.
and just automatically analyze the deal. I think that
It's
would
in
be
the works.
super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe coming soon from David.
Coming
is,
soon, yeah.
The
There you go.
automated
Yeah.
analyzer. But
Yeah.
for now, you can go to his website and check it out. I think
Yep.
learning how to underwrite deals is
I have a free one
extremely
on there too,
important.
by the way.
Mm-hmm.
There's a free and a paid version. So
Yeah, and
And multifamily is all about numbers. I mean, it's not, we're a lot less based on comps as opposed to
Correct.
our net operating income, right? You've got to, and so because of that, those numbers matter. What you plug in for expenses, what
Yep.
you plug in for rents, it's
comps
more
drive
of
the
a-
cap rates, but there's no direct correlation. Like two properties that are exactly the same, could be one city over, and one makes 200,000 more on their NOI. That property's gonna be valued more than the other one,
lot
even if
more.
they're exactly the same build.
For sure, yeah. I mean, so it's all about the numbers in
Yeah.
multifamily for the most part. So you've got to have the right analyzer. You got to be able to analyze it quickly.
Mhm.
I've seen some of these analyzers that are like,
Oh my
just
gosh,
pages and
dude.
pages.
Drives
And I
me
don't
nuts.
know how you,
Drives me
because
crazy.
today you've got to underwrite probably 100 to find one. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it's more, but you've got to underwrite a lot. So you've got to be able to underwrite them in 10, 15 minutes.
Yep.
To know whether you're within 90% of their
Correct.
whisper or strike price.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're not going to buy a deal.
Correct.
So it's got to be powerful enough, yet fast enough
Yeah,
to
fast
get the job
enough,
done, right?
simple that anyone. Yeah.
And that takes time. Maybe David and I will do a separate video on how to
Sure.
underwrite a deal for y'all, so that way y'all can really understand. We have some questions coming in. So Kevin Allison, I know him. His name is Kevin. Is there a list of reliable and trusted lenders for multifamily? I met Anton and wanted to see how to portfolio refi. I'd recommend talking to Anton. I've worked with him directly.
He's a good guy.
He's been very solid. But I can, Kenny, do you know any?
Yeah, I mean, we've worked with Old Capital in the past. They're a great mortgage lender here in DFW. We've also worked with Meridian Capital out of New York. I think it's good to have maybe one or two of those in the stable.
They're all great. Meridian,
I mean,
Anton.
I've known Anton a long time.
And these are brokers, by the way.
These are
loan
these are
brokers. So they'll
brokers.
go and shop the deal to the agency. They'll look at Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, HUD. They'll go look at bridge loans for you, different bridge loan sources they can do, insurance lenders, CMBS, all that kind of stuff.
And so multifamily, to me, it's really important to have that broker in
Yes.
between, because like the guys up in Meridian, they're in New York City, so they put us in touch with these New York City kind of mid-sized banks that are doing non-recourse lending on multifamily. I don't know if I personally would not have found that myself, right?
No.
So to me, don't cut out the brokers and
Yeah, I think they're invaluable.
multifamily.
Yeah.
I think they're even
They're
more
extremely
valuable
valuable.
than say in single family. But,
Oh, absolutely.
but you've got to have that because there's so many different products, and it changes. I mean, it'd be overnight. Fannie Mae changes its mind on Lubbock, Texas. I mean, Fannie Mae does not like Lubbock, Texas right now.
Yeah.
And so leverage went from 75 to 65 with them.
Wow.
So now if you had a deal under contract and you didn't have a broker, who's going to go find that fix? You know? So to me, they're like that golden parachute.
Yep.
You know, so sometimes it's going to feel like you don't need them.
Pay the extra point
to the brokers.
Pay the extra point.
But they're still worth it because if you need to take that change, and we've had to do that on 2 or 3 of our deals now, where the leverage changed all of a sudden overnight, and so we had to go make a plan B. And find a new lender, a new lending option, and I didn't have the time or the capacity to know everybody in the lending space, so totally worth it. I mean, I agree. Brokers are key, and
they're a crucial part to your team,
right?
So I think having the right brokers it can make or break a deal. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So,
and how they underwrite it, and how aggressive they are, and how they present it to Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac or some other lenders too. I mean, you can have.
They can bid them against each other. They could, the brokers really. It's a good barrier because they can push back and get you better terms than you could on your own.
Exactly right, and because they do so much business with Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac or whoever the lender is, that they could probably get better terms.
Correct.
Than if you had just gone to them directly.
Correct.
For the most part.
Awesome. And any final thoughts, David?
No, I love it, man. I'm glad you guys had me on the show. Anyone that's out there that's young, that's maybe in their early 20s, that wants to get into this, if I could do it, if my dumb ass could do it, I think anybody could do it. It's all about putting in the hard work and really just mastering your craft and going all in on it and being determined, be tenacious, and just don't give up. You're gonna, I was talking to somebody the other day, and they're like, man, I put in 2 LOIs, they both got declined. I was like, dude, you need to change your mindset. You need to have the idea that it's going to take you 20 LOIs to get to your first deal, and then you're going to be happy if you hit it on number 12.
Yeah.
So you just have to understand that it's not just going to come. It's not going to come easy, but it's rewarding if you persist.
And to me, I always thought so. Every no, I was closer to a yes.
Every no.
That's how you look at it. Whether it's investors or deal flow or
whatever.
That was
just the first step to a yes.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't like the no's, but I count them as my I'm one step closer to a yes. So,
absolutely. Yes.
But definitely, that's how you start. So start young. I started at 32, so I'm the old man here. I'm 37. These guys are way young, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing. So I was able to quit my job at 35, but these guys, they're already doing it, right? So this is awesome to see, to have these guys around, and they teach me about the Facebook, and, and the Instagram. So this is good.
That's awesome.
But it's great. Yeah, it's great to have you on, David. I met you, I think, a little over a year ago. Mm-hmm. Was it in Vegas?
It was in Vegas.
It was in Vegas, yeah. So we had that mastermind in Vegas. But it's been great to see you grow.
Yeah, thanks.
And you and Glenn are going to just tear it up. I know it.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Glenn's a great guy. And you guys compared, I think, are going to be great. I think you've had to teach him about the Facebook.
I've had to teach him about the Facebook too.
And go online
and the
too,
Instagram.
And the Instagram, right?
Yeah.
Right. But that's good. That's why you need those partners to do that. So, man, it's great to have you on the show, man.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ronnie.
Awesome. And what's the best way for people to reach out to you?
So Instagram, you could look up my name, David Toupin. I think my handle is @RealEstateJedi. Like Star Wars Jedi.
All right.
And then you could look me up on Facebook, David Toupin. My website is obsidiancapitalco.com.
Awesome. Yeah. And Kenny, how can people reach you?
So guys, Kenny Wolfe of Wolfe Investments. You can find us at wolf-investments.com. It's Wolfe with an E. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, the YouTube, all that kind of stuff. So check us out there. Come to the event if you can in Santa Monica. It's going to be a good one. You'll meet a lot of good folks, good network opportunities. Hopefully a lot of business for everybody is grown out of that conference.
And do you have an upcoming meetup?
We are taking a break to revamp it, actually.
Right.
We've outgrown the Chewies in Addison. They started charging us, so we're starting to revamp that, make it bigger. So we'll probably in July or August come back with a much bigger, kind of larger monthly event where folks can get together, network, and hopefully eat some tacos too. So.
Awesome.
Awesome.
And we'll be sure to have those details for you so y'all can come hang out with us and stuff. I'm Ronnie Phillip with Kingly Acquisitions. Best way to reach me is my email, ronnie@kingleyacquisitions.com. And if you're looking to invest passively in multifamily or looking to partner, please send me an email. More than happy to talk with you on multifamily investing. I want to give a special shout out to Propelio, propelio.com. If y'all haven't checked out Propelio, best real estate investment software on the market. You can do a lot of great things with that. So make sure you go to propelio.com and sign up for your free trial. Also, there is a meetup in July, correct? July 9th. It's on a Tuesday from 5 p.m. It's in Grapevine. We'll have the details on that. So make sure you come out and see us. I'm sure we'll all be there, maybe. I'll definitely be there. So would love for you to come hang out with us. So keep the questions and comments flowing. We'll still be able to answer all the different questions. Be sure to send David a friend request and follow him on his social medias. And thanks so much for tuning into this episode of the Commercial Cash Flow Show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe wherever you're watching from. And we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Propelio TV is sponsored by Batch Skip Tracing, CreativeCashflow.com, Think Multifamily, Life and Air, and Noble Mortgage and Investments. Hey everybody, I'm Ryan with Propelio. If you like what you saw, please subscribe. Turn on those notifications and stick around for more. We have tons of content like this all over our channel. So if you want to learn more about real estate investing, stick around, watch Propelio TV, and we'll see you later.